Pleasure to introduce Dr. Mark Westman, who is today speaking to us in his capacity as founder of Pets in the Park. Please welcome Mark.
Excellent. Yesterday I got to share my excitement about FIV and FELV diagnosis in cats in shelters. Today it's my other hat, my other great passion in life, which is Pets in the Park. So I appreciate gratitude to Nell for the invitation to speak today and share with you what we're doing. So to start off with, our mission is pretty simple. It's to support, build relationships with and improve the well-being of homeless people in society living with animal companions. And what I'd like to point out really right from the start, which has been a theme throughout the week, is that it's a very human-centric focus. So our aim is not simply to help the animals, our aim is to help the people by helping their animals. And that's a theme that hopefully will come through in my talk, that we're really there to try and do both, help the people and their animals at the same time. The problem in Australia, sometimes it's hard to get stats, but there's approximately 100,000 people homeless on any given night in Australia. My next slide's got a definition of what homelessness might entail, but just as a rough guide, there's about 8% of that 100,000 is what you might see on the street. So the typical someone living on a cardboard box or really visible to people around them, that's only a very small part of the problem. It's only the tip of the iceberg. So 100,000 people is a pretty crazy stat when you think about it. So our target, in terms of the people that we're trying to help, and it's a longish definition, but I think it's worth going into because it challenges the general conception of what homelessness is. And before I said primary homelessness, so that's the visible homelessness on the street, is only 8%. This definition incorporates what we call secondary homelessness, and it's been written by social workers and also referring to some government guidelines as well. So homelessness is a condition of people without a regular dwelling. People who are homeless are most often unable to acquire and maintain regular, safe, secure and adequate housing or lack fixed, regular and adequate nighttime residence. The term homeless may also include people whose primary nighttime residence is in a homeless shelter, a domestic violence shelter, a vehicle including recreational vehicles and campers, squatting, cardboard boxes, a tent, tarpaulins or other ad hoc housing situations. So you see it becomes a pretty broad definition when you start thinking about what homelessness really is. But that's who we're trying to help through Pets in the Park. How do we try and help people through helping their pets? So it's really through three ways. So we run free monthly health clinics. So this is our clinic in Darlinghurst, and at these clinics everything is free. We do free vaccinations, worming, microchipping, basic medical conditions, skin conditions. And what we try and do is, it's meant to be a fun, positive experience for these owners. So it's the last Sunday of the month. We have currently 4 clinics, 2 in Sydney and 2 in Melbourne. The last Sunday of the month, and the idea is it's a great community event. Our owners love coming, our volunteers love coming. It's a really positive experience for everyone involved. And we do it monthly. The monthly is really important because what we want to do is build trust with these clients. Often they've got backgrounds which means they don't trust people, they've had a lot of negative experiences. Initially they're not sure why we're there, and so we need to take time for them to realise we're here purely because we're trying to help them by helping their pets. And it's only by building this trust are we able to get to a point where we can go on to the second and third parts of the program, which I'll get onto the next slides. I'd like to tell the story of Chris. Chris is a cool guy who I walked past Chris. He was begging outside the Hilton Hotel on George Street in Sydney, if you know it. One of those situations where I walked past like everyone else, and then I stopped and I thought, what am I doing? So I walked back to him, sat down, had a chat for a while, and just talked to him about his dog Princess, who was with him, and Princess is on the table there. And let him know about Pets in the Park and said you should come to our clinic. Sure enough, the next month he came, brought Princess. A few months later, we desexed Princess, and so we really got to know Chris over a period of time. And then about 6 months later, because we'd like to think this is only for a transient period of time. About 6 months later, Chris came, and he's such in a triumphant sort of mood. He came to the clinic and said to everyone, "I've got a job. I'm getting back on my feet. I don't need you guys anymore." And it's a really happy moment because we'd helped him through that period of difficulty until he's at the point where he could look after himself. So through these monthly clinics, we recruit animals that are in need of surgery. So these are routine surgeries like desexings, dentals, lump removals, and we do this normally about 4 times a year. So we build up a list from the clinics, and then we schedule them for surgery. My background is I've done a little bit of overseas volunteer work. So initially when I was setting up this model, my thought was to do it rough and in the park, let's get out there and be visible and do it sort of India style. And the Veterinary Practitioners Board wasn't too keen on that idea. So I had to revise that. And fortunately, we've got a clinic that donates their surgery space. We have transport that's donated by HandRob. So we pick these animals up, take them to this clinic. We have volunteer vets and nurses that do all the stuff free of charge. And it's done in a very A-grade manner. So that's the second way. So monthly health clinics, we do our quarterly desexing surgery clinics. And then we also, between clinics, look after the more emergency care cases. And I know there's always a little bit of angst about vets and private vets wanting to make money. My personal experience, and of course I'm biased because I'm a vet, there are a lot of great vets out there who want to help, who want to do the right thing. Maybe it's just the circles that I mix in, but we have an amazing number of clinics that donate procedures to us. So for example, this is Buddy, who was seen at one of our monthly health clinics. One of the vets noticed some abdominal pain. We booked Buddy in through one of the clinics that donates procedures to us. So they donate 3 procedures a year. Buddy had an ultrasound, found this big splenic mass. The clinic kindly went in, did this surgery free of charge for the owner. Took the spleen out, Buddy recovered well. So Buddy was a ticking time bomb. This spleen could have ruptured any time. So we've found a problem, fixed it, given Buddy back to the owner, and it's a perfect result. So it's a great example of how this system can work. And this is another example of clinics helping us out. This is Jack, a young catalogue, beautiful dog, lovely owner called Paul. A friend of mine who works at a specialist centre in Sydney, happy volunteered to help out with a case that I needed help on. So she kindly organised scans of Jack's elbows, talked to a boss, got them to do a free arthroscopy and surgery on one of Jack's elbows. He recovered beautifully back home, doing fantastic. So I'm privileged that there are a lot of vets out there that want to help pets in the park out. So just a bit of history on Pets in the Park, because I think it really was a very organic sort of way that it started. So I got back from a short-term trip to India in 2009, and I just wanted to do something in Australia, locally. Like, I love going overseas and doing that every couple of years, but I wanted to do something sort of more regular in Australia. And just so happened I had a friend that ran a soup kitchen in Parramatta in Sydney, and we're having a barbecue one day, and he said to me, "Mark, we have all these dogs that come with their owners to the soup kitchen. Is there anything you can do?" And I thought, perfect timing. Yep, let me come down. I'll come down once a month, bring a table, bring some eskies, bring some flea and worm treatment. I'll just set up in the corner and on my way. Is that okay? And he was happy with that. So I started going to Parramatta every month in 2009. I wouldn't do a cat outdoors anymore. That's something that I've changed because that cat could fly at any minute. But so I started doing this in 2009, and it was going really well. I got to know the clientele pretty well. This is my favourite client, Pam, and I show a photo of her for 2 reasons. One is that she's a reminder to me of people who work for the Pets in the Park or volunteer for Pets in the Park need to love people. You need to love the clients that we see, and Pam's a character, and she's a beautiful lady. It was very touching. The first year of Pets in the Park, she gave me this Christmas card with this scrawl on it that said, she called me Vet Man. So, "Dear Vet Man, thanks for looking after Milo, Pam." And So that's the first reason I show a photo. The second reason is that occasionally we'll get people saying to me, do these people deserve help? Why are you helping them out? And I won't go into Pam's background, but I've got to know Pam over many years, and she's told me some things about her life. And you just wouldn't wish that sort of life on anyone. And so my response is, these people are deserving of care and compassion. So that was 2009. So it was ticking along nicely. I just would recruit whichever friends or family that were around at the time. And then in 2012, I was joined by a veterinary nurse called Vicky Causey, who came and visited Parramatta. And she said she loved the concept. Could she come and help out? And I'd had a few people that had showed interest, but no one had really come through. So I said, yeah, of course. Wasn't really expecting anything to happen. But Vicky's a go-getter, and she ran with the idea, and she sourced a second location in the heart of Sydney. So Parramatta's about 25 k's west of the CBD, if you're not from Sydney. So we opened a second clinic in 2012 in Darlinghurst, which is really right in the middle of the CBD, surrounded by by a poor area and a homeless community. So Darlinghurst has been going since 2012 and has grown to be our biggest program yet. So at the moment we see about between 50 and 60 animals each month at Darlinghurst. This is Lani, one of our clients that we've looked after. And then in 2015, we took the step to become a national charity. So this was done with a lot of thought. We had some people approach us in Melbourne that wanted to take the concept down. And so Frankston was born, and it's been going for almost a year. And it's grown exponentially again. Last month I saw 41 dogs and cats at its clinic, and it's had its first surgery clinic. So, like I said, we've got and a second clinic in Melbourne, so we now have 4 clinics in total. So I want to talk a little bit about the Pets in the Park model, because it's a very different model, I think, to what's out there. I think it's different from Pets for Life, which we've heard about, and I've really enjoyed hearing that spoken about this week. But Pets in the Park has a different model that I think stands it apart. So the traditional model, I think, this is my own views on homelessness. Imagine for a second if you were suddenly homeless. And for me, speaking to the clients that I speak to, I'm always reminded it's not that big a step. You just don't have maybe the right support network, you lose a job, a family member that's really sick. It's often not a big step to becoming homeless. So let's say you're suddenly thrown and you're now homeless. What are the things you're going to need help with to get back on your feet? And obviously there's a range of things. You might need help getting employment again. You might need some financial assistance in the short term to pay for some bills. Often there is a history of mental health illness. You might need some support for that. Social health, so some positive social experiences. There might be drug and alcohol abuse that needs attention. Basic health services, legal services, housing assistance, the whole stack of stuff. And it's really your caseworker or your social worker that's going to be the central hub for helping you access a lot of these things. If you've got a pet, veterinary assistance is there, but my take is that often it's sort of seen as a peripheral issue. It's sort of an adjunct, and if you've got a good caseworker or a good social worker, they'll identify this and help out, but it's not really seen as a core part of the homeless problem. Where Pets in the Park, I think, differs is that we really want to see it as one problem, as a holistic approach to homelessness, that animal ownership and homelessness is something that goes together, and that if you're homeless, getting help for your pet should be part of that assistance package. And what I want to do is I want to try my hardest to reconnect people that might come to see us for help with their animals back with the services that might be able to help them as well. So going back to our definition of helping people by helping their pets, that red arrow is to try and show that we try and drive our clients back to make sure they're getting help from social workers or caseworkers that maybe they've fallen out of contact with, maybe they haven't accessed, maybe they're things that they're not aware of that can help them as well. And so the way we do this is 2 ways. So the way we try and connect people back with services to help help themselves out is through two ways. So we always partner with a human service provider. So for the very first clinic in Parramatta, like I said, it was a very sort of organic program. Just so happened that the first program we connected with this soup kitchen where there are social workers, caseworkers there at every soup kitchen. So that's where the model really started, that strong connection to a human service provider. So in Parramatta, that's through this soup kitchen. In Darlinghurst, in Sydney, we connected with another outreach program called Rough Edges, which is an outreach cafe where, again, there are social workers and caseworkers available. And in Frankston, which has got one of the highest homeless populations in Australia, the local council actually is very, very proactive with helping out the issue, and so they have on hand people who can assist if you're struggling with homelessness. So these are the three partners that I've mentioned, the Stepping Stone, which is a soup kitchen in Parramatta, St John's and Rough Edges in Darlinghurst, and then community support in Frankston. So that's really important. We're not a standalone program. We don't just set up in a park and do our thing. We're connected with a human service provider. The second way we do this, trying to connect people back with social workers or caseworkers to get help for themselves, is through a strict referral system. So basically, to get help from pets in the park, clients are required to bring with them a referral letter from a caseworker or social worker to demonstrate that they're in need. And this is, again, where it, I think, differs from some other programs. If you turn up without a referral letter, we'll still help you out for the first month, but we'll say for ongoing support, you need to bring back a letter from a caseworker. And like I said, this is all about driving our clients back to make sure they're getting the help that maybe they're not already getting. And I've got an example, and clients who are in this situation, that might sound really harsh that you need a referral letter, but we've never had clients balk at that idea. You know, it's not an offensive thing to ask. They realise it's coming from a place of concern for them as well, and so it hasn't caused issues from an offence point of view. So just one example to give you an idea of some of the referral letters we get and some of the clients we're trying to look after. And I've changed some of the stuff, so I'm not mentioning the person's name, but I'm writing to support a referral for the client's 3 dogs. The client has been homeless with his dogs for about a year due to the Department of Housing taking his house away while in hospital for his Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 5. This is a degenerative blood disorder disease which is terminal. The client also has a psychiatric condition for which he'll be getting treatment soon. He's a man with many psychosocial and financial difficulties, surviving with the hope and support of his 3 dogs. The client has difficulties getting into refuges and getting the social work support he requires because the refuges do not allow for his dogs to stay with him. Therefore, he's been sleeping in his brother's car, which is parked outside the boarding house of his younger brother, who seems the only person to care for Peter on one hand. But on the other hand, his brother Michael also has had some recent medical problems and his capacity to help Peter is limited. Could Pets in the Park please assist Peter with his dogs? I think it's fair to say it's a pretty genuine referral, and we're more than happy to help this person out. So these are some of the referral providers that we have in Sydney, and we meet with them semi-regularly, so maybe once a year we try and meet up with them just so that they are reminded about what our criteria is to make sure they're referring the right people to us. And as well as making sure that they're connected with these services, it is about making sure that we're trying to access the animals that wouldn't otherwise receive veterinary care. So we're really looking to help the pets that wouldn't otherwise have vet care. And that ties in later, when I say that we get a lot of help from veterinary community, that happens because they realise how hard we work to make sure that we're helping the clients that they're never going to see. So going ahead, our future, what is our future? Because when I started in 2009, I thought that would be it. I wasn't expecting anything else. So really, 6 years later, our aim is to assist owners and pets wherever and whenever homelessness exists in Australia. So I'm sure, like most of you here, would prefer not to be doing what we're doing. We'd prefer that need to not be there. But while that need is there and where that need is there, we want to be able to help pets and help their owners at the same time. So the next step for us is we're opening a clinic in Brisbane in January, which we're very excited about. And we're also looking at potentially regional centres where homelessness is also an issue. Recently, we were blessed with a donation to purchase a van, and this van is to enable us to drive around the Sydney CBD and look for clients and their pets that aren't making it to the clinics. So at the moment, our clinics are on the last Sunday of the month. To some people who are homeless, this means nothing, and they forget, they don't have transport, they can't make it there. So this is trying to fill a gap to make sure that we're helping everybody who's in need. And I'm finishing with, I've got, I think, 6 tips. So Nell asked me to share what's worked for Pets in the Park. And my preamble here is that I don't pretend to be an expert. A lot of this has happened very organically, and I'm more than happy to share what's worked for Pets in the Park, but I don't want you to think that I'm talking from a position of authority and saying this is what's going to work for you. I'm just sharing from a personal experience. This is what's worked for us. So firstly, you need to assemble the right team. If I didn't have Vicky come and join me in 2012 at Parramatta and want to expand the program, I can tell you where Pets in the Park would be. It would still be me in Parramatta on my own at a little small table, hopefully making some small difference. So without the right team, we would never have grown to where we are now and hopefully helping infinitely more people and their pets than we were. So these are all the directors for Pets in the Park. There are now 5 directors who all bring their own set of skills. Linda is a professional photographer as well as a veterinary nurse, so all the beautiful images that you've seen in this presentation on our website are taken by Linda, and that's a huge help for us selling our message and what we do. Lee is another veterinarian who brings a massive set of skills and is fantastic with administration, who's done a lot of our groundwork. And Mark Westman is another vet from Melbourne who's been instrumental. So I got lucky. I don't know how this team came together. It just all came together at the right time. So my advice here is, and this is partly based on scrubs and partly based on my own personal experience as a vet, but hopefully it will resonate with other vets, nurses, and behaviourists. And that's that sometimes you have an animal in front of you that you're treating or you're working with, and sometimes you get the feeling that no matter what you do, the outcome's probably not going to change. But every now and then you get that animal that you know you can make a difference. And they're the ones that you don't rest at night. You wrestle, you think about everything you're doing, you work extra hard because you know that outcome could change depending on what you do. And so my analogy here is that I know how special it is that we've got the right team together at the right time. We've got a good model that works, and so I'm doing everything I can now to make sure that I don't miss this opportunity with this team to do what we can do together. Similarly, we've got the right team in Frankston in Melbourne. Again, this happened very organically. We tried to hold off as long as we could opening this clinic because we wanted to get all our structure right, and it just got to a critical mass where we had the right number of people wanting to help out who were with the right skill sets to take off. And it was probably, we didn't plan for it to be that early, but it was the right timing, and so we've gone with it, and it's going great guns as a result. Again, in Brisbane, if you're from Brisbane, the vet Jackie Campbell, who runs a fantastic home palliative care, older senior pet service, has been working hard all this year to do the groundwork for Brisbane. And every clinic we do now, we put a lot of thought and focus into targeting which human service provider we're going to work with and which referral providers we're going to work with. So there's a lot of groundwork that goes into these clinics, and Jackie's been the right person. And just recently we've had all these other people come to help out, and we're getting, again, that critical mass. So like I said, when you've got the right team, you've got to jump on it and run with it as long as you can. Second thing I'd like to share is establish a clear identity. So for Pets in the Park, what I mean by this is that we needed to have a very clear branding for who we are and what we do. And my background is with RSPCA and Animal Welfare League, and I love both places to bits. They are organisations that the more you get to know what they do, the more impressed I was with what they did. So I have a love and I'm an advocate for both organisations. However, when Pets in the Park first started, it was initially looked at as being an umbrella program of one of these organisations. And we had to make a tough decision at one point that it wasn't working. And it wasn't because the organisations weren't supportive, they loved the idea. The problem was it was one program amongst many. And that means making decisions and getting things done, it does slow things down a little bit. And we had a team of eager people who wanted to do things that we couldn't do them as quickly as we wanted to. So we made the difficult decision to separate and go our own way. And for us, that's been very important because we have one focus, to help homeless people and help their pets. It's a very clear identity. People who've heard about Pets in the Park hopefully know very quickly what we're doing. And so it's really simplified our branding and our message. And that made a huge difference to our growth. The third thing I'd like to share is that I've been very lucky to be supported by some big organisations. So they're three of our best supporters on the screen now, Elanco, Verback and Handrob. And people hate the idea of networking and that sort of stuff. And so I like to call it friend working. Because I love the industry we work in. Like, we're in a room of people that all week have been talking about how to reduce euthanasia and how to do a better job with the animals we're seeing. We work in an amazing industry with a lot of incredible people. So I genuinely love the people that I get to work with, get to hang with, get to be friends with. And I'm a believer that if you do the right thing by people, it will eventually come back and help you out at some point. So, for example, for Elanco, it was a veterinary nurse that I worked with at the RSPCA many years ago, Tara Britton, who moved to Elanco, heard about Pets in the Park and said to me, you should come and share with us what you're doing. And life gets busy and I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds good at some point, I'll fit in whenever I can. And she bugged me and said you should come in. So eventually I came in at her invitation. And her team around her loved the idea and wanted to support Pets in the Park. And so they've come on as our platinum sponsor. They give a financial contribution. They donate panoramas to all our dogs, comforters to all our cats. And they have been an amazing support for the last couple of years. And that wouldn't have happened without the introduction by Tara. Similarly, Verback Animal Health have been an amazing supporter from the start. They donate all our vaccines for our clinics. And that was really only set up because Mark Kelman used to work for Verback. He's still a consultant for Verback. And he took advantage and utilised that good relationship that he had with Verback. Handroll Pet Hotels are now a national supporter. They make our dissecting clinics happen. And that was only set up because a colleague of mine for the Animal Welfare League now runs Handroll, Brett Bell, and he was more than happy to support us. So my tip is it's okay to lean on and take help from your friends because there are a lot of good people wanting to do the right thing. And so take advantage of the network of friends you might have already. My fourth tip, and this one really challenged me because, and the fourth tip is that it's okay to spend money. So really for the first 4 or 5 years of Pets in the Park, I used to stand up and spruik that every dollar you donated to Pets in the Park went straight to helping the animals. We had zero administration costs. Everything was done volunteer. Everything was done by leaning on friends and networks. And I loved that about Pets in the Park. But we really got to a critical mass where we couldn't expand and keep doing what we were doing, and we couldn't have a national presence without starting to spend some money on administration. And so in March of this year, we've employed a part-time general manager, James Doherty, and he's revolutionised Pets in the Park. We're so much more professional. We have so many more systems in place. He's already paid for himself in terms of extra funding and revenue and grants that he's achieved. And it's been an amazing transformation for us. And I can't imagine now how we'd be running Pets in the Park if we didn't have that paid help. So that really challenged me to change my understanding of funding models and that sometimes it's okay to spend money to do more things. This is a photo from City to Surf. I mean, City to Surf is a great example of paying money to sign up to Everyday Hero and getting much more back in terms of donations than your outlay. I'm in the dog suit. I had an awesome time. It's amazing how liberating it is to be in a dog suit when no one knows who you are. Suddenly dancing is fine. Who cares? So much fun. Plan but remain flexible. So for me, like I said, 2009, I had no idea this would be where Pets in the Park is. And now we're planning, we want to be around for 20, 30, 40 years' time. If homelessness continues as a problem, which undoubtedly it will, we want to have a presence and be helping out with a legacy that will live on long beyond me. So we took the time out a couple of weekends ago to have a retreat with the directors. That sounds really corporate, but it was really, really important to stop, meet with the key people who are running Pets in the Park, make sure we're doing what we're trying to do as well as we can, and plan for the future. And of course, we need to be flexible. We don't, things will chop and change. If we hadn't been flexible at the start, then Melbourne wouldn't have happened. Brisbane wouldn't be happening as it is. You have to be able to change as you go, but having a plan in place, I think, is really important. And coming out of this weekend, it was such an incredible, important thing for us to do, to stop and go, how are we going to be around in 20 or 30 years' time? How are we going to keep doing what we're doing in a sustainable way? The sixth lesson, the final lesson, and I've got a couple more slides to finish up. I love this quote. I have to credit a guy in Sydney called David Cook who said this many times. The main thing is that the main thing remains the main thing. You got to keep doing what you set out to do and make sure you're doing it well. You need to make sure that you're fulfilling your mission, that you're providing the services that you really want to be providing. A good example, and if you're doing the right thing, if you're staying true to what your charity is about, then good things will happen. And a great example of this is we have a client called Sam, and he owns a dog called Ty, and he was begging in the street of Sydney one day when this lady walked past him and saw him with Ty and stopped and chatted and just checked to see how he was doing and if he needed any help with Ty. And Sam said, no, all good. I've been seeing Pets in the Park. They look after me. They're awesome. Love them a bit. Thanks for your concern, but Ty's doing fine. And so this lady went away and looked us up on the website and read a bit about us. And then she called up James and wanted to make a donation. And she asked James, what we're doing, and we talked about the van that we wanted to purchase and the outreach program that we wanted to start. And there are some amazingly generous people in the world. She said, okay, I want to buy the van for you. And at this point, this was probably a 2-year plan. It goes back to, plan but be flexible. So this is, incredible donation. And really it was off the back of the fact that we were doing what we're there to do. We were helping Sam. He was our best spokesperson. And then this lady was just in the right spot at the right time for us. And that van that you saw was purely purchased off the back of her single donation. So if you're doing the right thing, if you're sticking to your core mission, good things will come. This is our website if you're interested, if you want to read more about what we do. This was set up by my brother, so I'm infinitely proud of it, petsinthepark.org.au. You can also, there's a Sydney Morning Herald video on Chris. So Chris was the one I showed near the start with Princess and his story. You can see that video as well as lots of other great stuff. And I just want to finish a couple of slides. All the corporate sponsors we have: Elanco, Verbac, Durox, Slippard, Microchip Australia, Zebravet, AES, Handrob, and the Lion Foundation. Again, these are our service providers and our partnerships that we have that I've shown before. And I just want to finish with, this is a picture from our Darlinghurst clinic at the end of one of our clinics. And really it's a shout out to all our volunteers. So we wouldn't be able to do what we do without an amazing network of volunteers. And the way I think about this is that when I was a kid, the movie Field of Dreams came out. This might be for those slightly older people here. My dad loved Field of Dreams, and the main quote that comes out of that movie is that if you build it, they will come. And what I've learned from Pets in the Park is that if you build a program that enables people to volunteer in a structured and really relatively straightforward way where they're able to share their skills. People want to help out. There are an amazing number of great people in our industry that want to do good things with their skill set. And so I'm constantly amazed by the emails we get from nurses, from vets, from practice owners around Australia who want to help out pets in the park. And like I said, I think it really is, if you build a program that makes it easy for people to do what they're good at doing, they'll want to help out. And so it's a big shout out to all the volunteers that have helped us out. We've actually got a thank you picnic for them in Sydney in December the 13th. If anyone's here from Sydney, you're welcome to buy tickets and come and support Pets in the Park. We'd love to have you there. Thank you very much.